going to roll into the state of the Broncos and Steelers this week. Steelers coming off a bye. Broncos getting a huge win in Philadelphia, but I'm going to let Twitch, this team coming off a bye, to start us off here. What's the state of the Steelers coming off the bye week here?
Yeah, so sitting at 3-1 off the bye week after a 2-game win streak. I said Steelers looking to get some guys back this week, and hopefully Joey Porter Jr. and Jalen Warren on the offensive defensive side of the ball, and so for Pittsburgh, they've got a real opportunity with the Browns coming in this week, and then the Bengals on a short week, to 2 winnable games to really stack. To me, that's so pivotal. And I hate to be pessimistic because I am a diehard Steelers fan for life. But with some really hard games coming up the back half of the season, and you got to figure whether they make the playoffs or not. Once Lamar Jackson's healthy, they're going to make a run at some point. I just truly believe that. So now is the time you stack those wins rather than giving Baltimore hope, especially if Jackson comes back and they beat the Rams now. Well, now they're only back a game. So after all that terrible start. So Pittsburgh definitely needs to take care of business, opportunity to stack a couple wins. I said about getting some guys back. What I really want to see for Pittsburgh is I'd like to see, if Warren, even with Warren coming back, them going with the 1-2 combo in the backfield, and then getting their tight ends involved. I mean, I think the last 2 games they've averaged about 6 total catches for about 30 yards or less, and I still think Pat Freiermuth is one of those guys that's borderline Pro Bowl worthy. I mean, he's top 10. If they give him the ball, he's had success with every one of his quarterbacks, from last year Ben to Rudolph to Kenny Pickett, and so it's just like I want to see our tight ends get more involved, especially with Calvin Austin not being sure to play this week. So still been saying it all year, been saying it for a year and a half, is not really knowing who that number 2 receiver to step up is. Other than it's been Jalen Warren out of the backfield. So that's my thing I was looking for. Can they take that almost 100-yard rushing game and having Jalen Warren back and have a nice 1-2 combo? In the years they've made the playoffs the last few years with different running styles, but with Najee Harris and Warren being the catalyst for those offenses that made it to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. So that's what I'm looking for this week is getting that 1-2, finding a true number 2 receiver, having a consistent run game. Hope to build off that from the Minnesota game 2 weeks ago, and on defense, getting their other star cornerback back. So hopefully that helps the rush and the pass defense quite a bit. The Pittsburgh just needs to stack wins. That's where we're at right now, I feel. So we're in the driver's seat of the North, and I'm hoping that we can keep it rolling.
Yeah. Rolling into the state of the Broncos here. Last week, get a huge win against Philadelphia, handing them their first loss of the season in Philadelphia, which is even crazier. Great game across the board. Cortland Sutton almost has another 100-yard game. J.K. Dobbins, 20 carries for 79 yards and a tutty. Bo Nix getting 1 touchdown. But the biggest thing about this is it gives this young core of Broncos players, I think, and I'm stealing this directly from Tony Romo, is their signature win. We can play with good teams and we can pull out good wins against good teams. Mm-hmm. And we made, and I feel like it showed like in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, not this last year, but the time they played before, is you take away the run game of the Eagles and make them throw the ball on you. And that's what we did. We had Jalen Hurts threw for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns, but we held them to 45 rushing yards as a team, which I think is huge. You make them do something they're not as good at. Obviously Saquon Barkley's a top 10 back in the league, if not top 5 back in the league. Like a great running back across the board. But with Saquon, holding that rushing game and getting that win and that clutch win and going for 2 to put them up 18-17 there, and then getting the ball back and going down and kicking that field goal. That puts us on a hot streak here that we play the Jets, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Raiders. That we could win 4 or 5 of those. We could win 4 out of the 5 of those games. We could win all 5 games depending on what the Cowboys and the Texans look like by the time November rolls around or the end of October. So I'm very optimistic with the Broncos. I think the Broncos getting that signature win really adds a lot of confidence in there, especially after losing to the Colts and Chargers by a heartbreaker.
Well, I think that goes back to that race to 7-8 wins.
Yeah.
That's a very doable path for the Broncos. I did have to laugh because you referenced the center Luke Wattenberg is Whataburger, and our kids out there obviously in Denver and got a kick out of that. I said, well, let me know if that catches on. If Wattenberg gets a new name Whataburger, then you'll know that came from the Twitch and Box Sports Talk. So, yeah, I definitely feel like this is a lot to come in this next week, and I feel like Broncos can get this done.
Yeah, I mean,
in London, and then we'll see what happens with that Chargers Miami game. And boy, the Chiefs better bring their A game Sunday night.
yeah, so the Broncos have a favorable schedule going forward, and the Chiefs have a rough schedule going forward.
Right.
And that's I guess the negatives of being that's the
Right.
NFL's team, you could say, of the Chiefs being, getting primetime slots against really good teams.
Right.
When the Broncos we got more primetime slots this year, but we're just starting to get good again. So,
Sure.
but
Well, and obviously it's the NFL, and this week was the case in point. There's no such thing as an easy win in the NFL.
yeah,
But, depending on the Cowboys playing pretty good right now and the Texans defense playing pretty good. But obviously the Broncos have shown that they can beat anybody literally by beating the Eagles. And so, you like to think that they said they win at least 3 out of 5 of those, maybe split with the Cowboys, Texans. So, even if they go 3-2 at worst case, in my eyes,
Yeah.
knock on wood, nobody getting hurt, you're talking about at worst 6-4. Probably really good chance if they take care of business the way they're better on paper, probably, like you said, probably winning at least 4 out of 5, maybe not 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
You drop one, maybe even once one of the other teams, but they win the 2 better team. But even 4, you said 4-1, you're looking at 7-3. And so, if the Chiefs don't win this week, you have 4 losses.
who knows what that game looks like when
Right.
they roll out there to Denver. But that's going to conclude our State of the Steelers and Broncos this week. Make sure to drop a comment down below or hit up LSV for Life on Twitter if you want to come out and give your take on your team here. But we appreciate everybody listening to these segments. Appreciate everybody. Make sure to everybody listen, but also be on the lookout for our big episode dropping tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. What's today? 7th. So tomorrow. Be dropping tomorrow, but everybody be on the lookout for that, and appreciate everybody for listening, and hope everybody has a great week.